What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about HBAR today at the request of Scucho. Hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see more content like this, you guys, and let's get into it. Scucho, do not expect the turnaround to be this fast next time. You had the right comment in the right place at the right time, okay? I meant to talk about HBAR, but just so you know, don't expect them these requests to turn around that fast, okay? But looking at the video, or looking at the price here, from a high to a low, you can see that we've gone up just above the 1-for-1-4. That's actually pretty common to do whenever making your ways up into these extended areas. You can get stopped at the 1-for-1-4 on a closing basis, but oftentimes you will wick even if you do stop there. Coming down to find support at the 1-2-7-2 and closing around here and doing this is very bullish, man. I would believe that when you move out of here, you don't stop at the 1-6-1-8, but you go to the next target, which would be at least to 67 cents. 67 to 80 cents, it's kind of a range of its own, but you really could bypass that and work your way all the way up to $1.20 or higher, HBAR. You really could. And the primary reason I'm giving it that kind of consideration is because of the overall pattern you have, right? This bull flag pattern that you have right now. I want to use the percentage real quick from a low to a high. If we were to put this flag pattern measure move right here, that measure move takes you basically right above this 2-6-1-8. So if this were to be a really strong move, it's not common. It's not common for moves to stop at the 2-8-8-6 or the 3-1-1-3, but in really strong conditions, sometimes they do reach that high, and that's like the maximum limit that I would have, right? So I really couldn't see it going above like $2.91, $4. I can't see it going above that area. But even getting there is going to be a bit of a challenge, right? I would say, and I do like this 2-2-7-2 as a minimum target. So you're at 30 cents now, HBAR. Minimum target would be $1.18. Maximum target, let's say maximum expected target would be about $2, probably just above $2 even, actually, because that's your 2-6-1-8 there, but that's your measure move there. The thing about measure moves is you don't have to hit them. You can get close to them without achieving them. You could fall short of them. You could well exceed them. You know, you don't have to hit the measure move. So the 2-6-1-8 lining up with this, it doesn't make me think that you'll wick above the 2-6-1-8, though you could. It's something to be considered. But it actually, to me, even though the measure move is here, it validates the idea more that you would stop around, probably around $2. Then you add the psychological level of resistance into consideration. It kind of makes sense too. I just made a video on Bitcoin, you guys, and I thought it was a really good video. And I feel like I don't have a crystal ball, but I felt like a genie for a second there, right? And I really do think that Bitcoin right now is in the process. Oh, this is that's a little different chart than I thought I was going to be looking at. I think it's in the process right now of its next move up. And I think its next move is not going to end in January. I think it'll end in February or early March. Late February or early March is what I'm expecting this next move to last until. And I think it's going to go, I think Bitcoin, man, it's going to go up to like really high targets, man. Like in that time, I'm not saying it's going to double from here. It could, but more, pretty close. Like it could do a 90% growth in that time between now and the end of February. I genuinely mean it. So if Bitcoin's going to do that, all I'm getting at is I would assume HBAR tracks Bitcoin more or less, right? Like whenever HBAR tops off might be around the time that Bitcoin tops off. If we look at Bitcoin here, we go on a weekly basis, right? It started to consolidate. It topped off here on the 16th of December, but it really probably started to consolidate here on November 18th. HBAR started to consolidate on December 2nd. So then, I suppose, right, that actually makes sense because cryptos, Bitcoin runs, and then it consolidates, and then cryptos run, right? So it makes sense that your altcoins top off after Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin's going to top off in late February, altcoins might top off in early March. This is why we're working through all the thought processes here, right? So essentially, to me at least, it wouldn't make sense that you stop at $1.18, because if I'm expecting this next move to end probably by the end of February or the end of March, somewhere in that time frame, based off of your current trajectory, based off of the bullish conditions you're in, that would just be that'd be a pretty weak move. That wouldn't meet my expectations of this bull flag, and that would just be a long time. I mean, man, if it took until the end of February to get there, beginning of March, end of March, that'd be a very it's still a bullish move. It's still fine. I mean, I don't think anybody would complain if the price was up 300% by the end of March, right? I don't think anybody would be upset about that, but you'd obviously be a lot happier if it was at higher prices in a shorter amount of time. all I'm trying to get at, besides all this speculative stuff, is that I can't see it stopping there. It doesn't make sense to me. It would make more sense that you would at least go probably to the 2618. But if you were to see that kind of move, right, I could see you hitting this by the end of January. This by the end of January, maybe not so much. But given the time frame that we have, I think by the end of February, yeah, you could be up there. By the end of March, yeah, you could be between $3 and $2, somewhere in that range. Absolutely, you could be. So I guess that's it, man. I guess that's all. We can do some other stuff real quick before I end the video. But just know the point of this video, I guess, kind of like my Bitcoin video, is to call what I expect this next move to look like, right? You move down here, consolidated here, and then your next move was up. Then you consolidated here. What's your next move going to look like? Is it up? How far up is it going to be? How is it down? How far down is it going to be? That's the whole point of this video. And the minimum expectation is $1.18, but truthfully, I think the real expectation should be like $2 to $3. That's my personal range that I'm going to give you. If you stop at $1.18, it's not bad. It just, to me, I don't know, that would be uncharacteristic. But we'll know if you're not at least by the end of January, if you're not at least like around $1, at least above like 80 cents or around $1 by the end of January, then I would say maybe this is a more considerable target by the end of February, March. But if you're above this red line, let alone if you're above here by the end of January, definitely this zone is going to come into play the following month and a half. So stuff to consider there. Let's look at some indicators real quick. Looking at the weekly RSI, coming down here, pulling down, getting overbought, real overbought above the 90, and then pulling down to your overbought zone to find support. That's a baller move right there, man. You tend to get really strong moves in situations like this, so it makes sense that we'd get a really strong move out of this, right? 3-day basis. RSI also looking really good, man. Bouncing off the 60. You've got. I'm not making this up, man. Like, I'm not just saying this. Wow, look at where you're bouncing. Oh, look at this one too. But like genuinely, dude. I'm not trying to talk like a valley girl either. Genuinely, my friends, you're finding support at the 60, and there you found resistance at before. The 60 is what they define as the bullish area of control, right? So bouncing off of there is no small feat, and that actually is a really good thing. The overall look in the RSI also has this nice kind of parabolic curve to it with higher lows and higher highs. It's looking phenomenal. I suspect, like I would probably for most coins, that this next move, while it is going to be miraculous, likely promotes a relative high that consolidates longer than what we just saw, right? So in other words, what I'm trying to say is this next move, whether it stops at $2, $3, wherever, the next consolidation phase will probably be a little more significant than the one we just came out of. And that makes sense, right? Because then maybe it's by the end of January or probably by the end of February, end of March that we consolidate. And maybe we could consolidate going into April. Maybe we could consolidate longer than this. It's a bigger phase consolidation. And then that gets us set up for the second half of the year, 2025, to go into our finale run. So it might make sense that we have a longer phase of consolidation after this next move. At least that's what this 3-day RSI would suggest. It doesn't mean we have to, but it's suggestive. Let's kind of look back in time here, right? Like if you were looking at the 3-day RSI, you had your first peak in the overbought zone. You came down and you're going in for your second peak, okay? Right? Does that sound familiar? First peak, came down, you're going in for your second peak. What did the price do? Let's just look at it, right? Oh, wow. So the price during the first peak had a modest consolidation phase. And then the second peak, while the move was not only like very similar, right, in overall growth, if I'm just drawing that from like a low to a high, roughly, and then I put this at like this low to high. It didn't take the same amount of time, but basically from a low to a high it was the same. It took less time. It happened faster. But the consolidation afterwards was more grandiose. It took longer and it was larger, right? And that we could have established even without seeing this reading here, just because of this, right? Like being overbought like this. Generally, whenever you get overbought like this, you bounce off of your 60 area and you get back overbought again. It's a very strong signal. Of course, you had a stronger move coming out of this consolidation, but this kind of bearish divergence or this continuation in the overbought zone like this, it can lead. It's rare that you do this, right? It's rare that you do this forever. It happens, and during very bullish phases that happens, but most of the time you either get one move into it or you'll get two, and right. So that's all I'm trying to say, man. Is that this next phase, wherever it lands, $2 to $3 probably by the end of February, March. it'll probably lead to a larger phase of consolidation than what you just saw, both on a percentage and a time frame basis. Okay, so with that, I'll leave it, right? Hit that like button, you guys. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Thank you all for being here. Daily time frame looks bullish as hell. Looks like you're about to start moving up now, man. I really do. I think that you will start moving up now. So take care. See you on the next one. Bye.